Fishing Historic Places has been doing a lot of river floats this year, and for good reason. We've got some really great rivers that demand the exploration that a river float allows. If you fish these rivers from the bank, you've only got so many places that you can access, and there are vast areas of the river that will never see a bait in the water if you just are dealing with fishing from the bank or wade fishing. So while we do wade fish this river and other rivers that we're floating, we find that the kayak floats prove to be much more effective in finding the spots where the fish are. Now, here in the Housatonic River, above Lee, we're hitting a factory-created pond known as Woods Pond. And we're going to do an episode on pike, pickerel, the warm water species that are here, and talk a little bit about the problem that factories, dams, and slowing a river have on the natural ecosystem of that river. But in the meantime, we're going to catch some fish on this episode of Fishing Historic Places. We got another Housatonic float going today. We're going to head from, it's about a 4.5 mile float, maybe 5 as the river runs, down to Woods Pond. So we're up above Woods Pond in Lee. And this river is at a particular level now as the result of a big dam that creates Woods Pond. So while we have current, it's going to be a slow, steady float, I imagine, with a lot of milfoil and water chestnut and assorted other, really bassy, really pikey water. Beetroot has decided to break out the bait caster. This is, you got it, go with it, right? Now you see that point coming out right up the river? Look up the river. That's an old bridge abutment from an old bridge. It's so there was a second bridge way up there. I don't know when it was destroyed, but it's kind of cool. And what we have here is October Mountain and the watershed that abuts it, where we have had Bigfoot sightings. In fact, I've got an interview with a fella that not long ago had a sighting. Now I laugh a little bit there, but we'll see. We're going to be throwing some spinnerbaits as a result of the fact that there's so many pike in this river. And I think a spinnerbait is a good pike lure because it's got the wire built right into the bait. It makes it really hard for the pike to bite you off. They can still break you off because we know how pike are. Anybody that's ever caught a pike knows that they don't stop. They never stop. Now I just went through that same weed pile, so obviously he didn't get skunked out. Oh, look at that fish. What do you got, a pike, Tom?
No, I think it's a largemouth.
Big largemouth. A hog of a largemouth here to start the day.
Oh, yeah, he is. Oh, my God.
Look at that. Nice largemouth bass. Holy cow. Tom, show that to the camera. We need to see that. Look at you. Oh, that's a nice 3.5, 4. Beautiful fish.
Weedless swim bait. You hung up in the weed?
Look at what he got. That's a pig. This is such a, I keep saying it over and over again, but this is such a beautiful river. Look at that old beaver dam with a slough coming out it. Oh man, got cast into the tree maybe. Overhanging silver maples. Stupid cover. Just stupid cover. So today I brought my 6.5 foot pole, and I'm going to wish I had the smaller one because we're looking at an area that's just got. Can I resist that? Do I got to flick one? I got to flick one right here. Oh, right up on the bank. Oh! Whoa! Missed a nice pike. I think it was a pike. All through the Housatonic, you have streams that come in. You have deltas where it gets shallow and then deep again. And then just all kinds of weeds. Here there's a lot of milfoil and there's a lot of pickerel weed. And you're in the middle of these meadows, which is really something. Like I've said before, this is much like the river would have looked at the time of the native people. You would have had meadows. Because of course, the Housatonic, up north not far, there was a Mohawk tribe. I just cast it into that maple. I'm not going to panic. I'm staying with it. You see that? I just pulled it. You don't want to panic when you go on trees. When you're a young fisherman, you cast, you get over a branch, you're like, oh, and you panic. And the second you panic, you're done. I feel like I'm going to get a good cast at this silver maple as I swing this way. I'm going to go underneath it. Yeah. Seems like a lot of the fish are right on structure. They're laying right on it. Now this is a really good day, weather-wise. Oh, now there. Oh, hung with it. Weather-wise, because we got possibilities of a thunderstorm later. Beetroot pitching his way down the river. Late August, Housatonic River, after a rainy summer, we've got a lot of freshly downed bank and probably wood structure too. You can see that bank collapsed right on the other side of Tom. Oh, he nearly found himself stuck. I'm going to pitch it right over on the other side of Tom. Not a lot of fish yet, but a beautiful river, beautiful float. Got the cowboy on. I'm tossing the cowboy, which is it's kind of like a jig, I guess. I'm letting it drop up against these overhanging banks. I just missed one. Felt like a decent fish. Didn't know it was hooked. Came charging right toward the boat and then just popped off. Wasn't hooked well. So I'm up an old arm of the Housatonic. So it's at one time this was probably the main channel, but right now it's just an arm that goes for a while and then stops. But this is just a testimonial to what kind of a nursery area this thing has. You know, there's minnows busting water in here and small fish all over the place that can basically get in here and do their thing. They've got so many weeds, so much structure to hide in that it's crazy. It's crazy to think about. That's what rivers offer when they meander. Oh, there's a big carp right there. As I came by, I look in the water and there's Mr. Carp. Yes. Carp being an invasive species. There's another big carp right there. Can't really see him, I don't think. Maybe. There's another one. Now we're in the carp. We found the carp. I'm going to tell Beetroot. Beetroot will like that. Beetroot's a carper. They'd come in here with the fly rod if I knew those were carp. I got to make this float. Now that I know what kind of a float it is, I can make this float in my canoe with my pontoons on it that let me stand up. This kayak, you don't go standing up in. I mean, you could, but no, you really couldn't. Yes! Largemouth! Look at how fat he is. He's like 8 inches, 6 inches, 7 inches long, and he's fat as a little pig. Look at that guy. Look at the belly on him. That guy's eating. Here in the mighty Housatonic. Tom's going over there. He's going to see if he can get into that pond, that slough. Amount of warm water species in this river. We've got bowfin, we got gar. I mean, a lot of people call those trash fish. I think those people are stupid because those are great fish to catch. They fight really well. You got to be a moron not to like those fish. What do you fish for? Like, really? In this river, you're not eating them. And they're really, really good fighting fish. They're challenging. Of course, there's also carp, and I'm being attacked by stupid little flies. There's those. Large and smallmouth bass, pickerel, pike. Everybody's here. Oh, Mr. Weed is here too. Tom is absolutely right. The pike are on the spoons. I just put a gold one on. Slid it off. It's got a Cinco on it. Take your time! He's got a big pike. Beautiful pike, Scott.
Came out of nowhere.
Oh, yeah.
Whoa!
And he's going to take you down out of nowhere, boy.
Yeah, if I can get another one, I'll get another one.
You can lip them.
If you lose them, don't worry about it. I got a picture.
Put some kind of measurement on that. Let's figure out how big that is. That's
Measure it by finger.
yeah. Put it up against Tom. Put it up against Tom's torso. Okay, so Tom's torso is 34 inches long.
Let's see, we do that. About probably the whole length of that.
Okay, we'll measure that later.
From here to the end of that thing.
Wow, beautiful fish. You animal, I'm a chartreuse. They love chartreuse.
Well, I was throwing. Actually, I had a.
What? There's all those ponds. I mean, I don't know how big these. It's like we have to look at Google Earth and see like what that pond size is. It might be one of the fairly big ones. Well, the Housatonic is a great example of a meandering river. You can see as I'm pulling out of this little slough that it carved. The main channel comes and hooks to my right, and there's another slough right there. An old oxbow where the river meandered. Very neat river. So many ways. Like, we're not crushing the fish in this particular float like we did last time, but still, you know they're in here, and it could just be one of those days. Looks like apple trees on my left. Well, we hooked one, and now we're in a mess. I think we hooked them. Let's see. What? I think so. I just missed a nice fish. The rat.
No rat. Smallmouth like the rat.
That's a nice fat small. Is that a largemouth? Look at him carefully. I think it might be a largemouth. No?
Faint straight. Yeah, you're right.
Been a slow day on the upper Housatonic here as we approach Woods Pond. We're still a ways away, but we've gotten some good fish, but not a lot of them. Unlike the lower Housatonic where you can't, you'll at least catch smallmouth. Lots of smallmouth. Here, we've seen a couple smallmouth, but no one's caught any. And while there's been a big pike landed and there's been a couple other big pike missed, it's been slow. And there's October Mountain right there. Named by Herman Melville.
So, Dan, what's the history behind October Mountain?
Herman Melville named it. The guy who wrote Moby Dick. He had a cottage called Arrowhead up in Pittsfield. Yeah. And he just called it the October Mountain in a letter. And people loved it, you know. It's a massif. It's a series of peaks that are all connected, you know. So he referred to the series of peaks as October Mountain, which is kind of cool. The guy that wrote Moby Dick named the mountain. So it had been named. I mean, I think each of the peaks, yeah, I think probably each of the peaks has a name, but the whole thing collectively he called October Mountain, and the state loves it. October Mountain State Forest. Because Massachusetts likes to put on the dog anyway. If there's a famous dude that writes anything, you know, Massachusetts jumps it. Beetroot with the pike.
You know what? I gotta do my
You forgot to do what? Nice. On the same spinnerbait.
I wonder if that's what, I don't know what it is.
Bring him over here, I'll get him.
You got it?
Yeah, I'll get him.
Okay, look.
Here.
You got a camera? Here,
Yeah, I got my camera. Okay. Oh, yeah. Nicely done. That's a hammerhead right there. Look at that guy. He's got to be like 28 inches long, I would think, and he's a hammerhead. He's not eating good. Go up the river, boy. All the fish up the river are fat little pigs. You're a wreck. Yeah, we're down. Oh, yeah, over there? Yeah. So now we're down at Woods Pond. And this float, we started this float at about 9, and it's almost 3, it's after 3, I think. So it takes, this is a long float if you do it. Because the river's not really running that fast. If you're fishing, there's a ton of really nice structure. You can't help but throw at it. And the dam on the Housatonic is right over there. The main current of the Housatonic is under me right now. The state was working on that dam. They were worried that that dam was compromised and it needs to be upgraded. And of course it was built by a private company with the proper state permitting, of course. And, you know, who's going to build it? Now when these dams go offline, they're not really offline. They now become the domain or property of the state of Massachusetts. And so, the state is now responsible. Well, the state doesn't want this reservoir to break. There's the old train station over there. Right there. And there's some historic trains. That's pretty cool. And this boat, we believe, is spraying the invasive water chestnut, which is everywhere here. And I'm going over some right now. I'll show it to you in a second. This is one of the worst invasives. It floats on the surface and literally chokes the lake. And you can see it. This green, looking like lily pads. What this actually is water chestnuts. And I believe they're spraying it with, here's a great example of a water chestnut plant right here. It creates a crazy seed. It's hard. If you step on it, it'll go right in your foot. It's got spikes on it. And we'll find them in the lower portion of the river. Housatonic flows down into Connecticut. And there's a lake down there called Lake Zor that's on the Housatonic. And I kind of worry about that lake getting this crap in it. And I gather this stuff can live in an estuarine environment, so it can actually withstand a degree of salt water or salinity. But look at how thick it is. Me and Tom are fighting our way through it. This is crazy. It's like we're going up on the lawn through this water chestnut. Look at Tom up there. I mean, he's usually pedaling, so he's not really used to paddling, but still, he's a good paddler. This is some serious spewage right here. And I guess they're trying to kill it off, which probably is a good idea. Tom, let's throw the frog. You can see I got another maybe 60 yards, 50 yards to go. This isn't easy. So on the other side of the water chestnut, you have October Mountain State Forest. Beautiful. We're doing an episode on Bigfoot sightings and the paranormal in October Mountain because it's a site that's seen its fair share of strange occurrences. But the reality is that at the foot of October Mountain in Woods Pond is a monster, and that monster is water chestnut. Now what we have here, you can see the airboat. They just fired up the airboat right there. And that airboat has been spraying the water chestnut to try to kill it. Hope they're using something potent. Well, not too potent because we were just in it. So what those guys are doing, we thought they were spraying the place down with pesticides, but I asked them, and they're basically doing core samples of the sedimentary strata below the lake so that they can figure out how much sediment has to be removed when they dredge this. And that's going to be something else. As long as you have this sediment here and at the dam down below at the Rising Paper Company, as long as the sediment's here, floods will remove it and bring it to the rest of the river. So they feel if they can get rid of it, they'll be able to affect a real cleanup that'll be long-lasting. That's a lot of work. They got to do 139 samples all over the cove here. And we fish for pike here in the winter. We've had some good days here. We also have caught some hog yellow perch in this cove. And I wouldn't doubt that there's some good-sized pike here now. I don't think they all go up the river. It's about the depth of the water and break lines and underwater structure. You can't tell in here. The water's pretty muddy. Now we pull at the ramp ahead of us. Oh.